Okay, so welcome to another deep dive where we take a look at something, uh, something tragic, unfortunately, and try to break it down and get some a better understanding of it.
Right. Yeah.
And so today we're taking a look at the Oklahoma State University homecoming parade attack from back in 2015,
Yeah.
and so we're just working off of a Wikipedia entry that that you've provided for us.
hmm
Um, and so this is just going to be, us kind of taking a look at that and trying to dissect the information as best we can.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where we've got, all the factual information laid out there and it's pretty straightforward. So hopefully we can really dive into this and pull out the things that are important for understanding, what happened on that day.
Right. Yeah. So it was October 24th, 2015.
Okay.
And it was 10:31 in the morning Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Oklahoma State University homecoming parade was underway.
Yeah.
And they were getting near the end of the route. They had just crossed the intersection of Hall of Fame Avenue and Main Street in Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine, I mean, it's homecoming.
Yeah.
People are lined up. It's a festive atmosphere. There's going to be a football game later.
Right. A big celebration.
Yeah, it's a big day for the university.
Absolutely.
So a 25-year-old woman named Adacia Avery Chambers.
Okay.
She was driving a gray 2014 Hyundai Elantra
Mm-hmm.
south on Main Street, and the Wikipedia entry states that she intentionally drove her car into the crowd at over 40 miles per hour.
Wow.
And she hit barriers that were set up to kind of control traffic for the parade, and she even struck an unmanned motorcycle that belonged to the Stillwater Police Department.
Oh, wow. So they were already there providing security for the event, and
Right.
yet this still happened.
Right, and then the car careened into the crowd,
Oh, my gosh.
and hit approximately 50 parade spectators
Oh, that's awful.
before finally coming to a stop when the front tires hit a curb on the southwest corner of that same intersection.
So it just plowed right through.
Yeah, just plowed right through, and luckily, you know, paramedics and firefighters were actually participating in the parade.
Oh, wow.
So they were able to render aid pretty quickly.
So they were right there on the scene.
Right there on the scene.
Oh my goodness, that's something.
Yeah. So 4 people died
Oh gosh.
from the collision. 23-year-old Nikita Prabhakar Nakal, who was from Mumbai, India, and she was a student at the University of Central Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a married couple, Marvin Lyle and Bonnie Jean Stone.
Oh.
Um, and Nikita Nikal's mother was injured in the attack as well.
Oh my goodness.
And then a 2-year-old also passed away.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, so 47 other people were injured,
Wow.
including 9 children between the ages of 1 and 13.
Goodness.
And these people had to be, they were sent to hospitals in Stillwater and Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Oh wow. So really impacted the entire region.
Yeah, yeah. And so Chambers, she was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence.
I mean that seems like a reasonable assumption, right? I mean, just given the circumstances.
Right, but a blood test was administered,
Right.
and her blood alcohol level was only 0.01.
Oh wow.
And in Oklahoma, that's not enough to get a DUI.
Huh. So even though it looked like that at first,
The-
the facts didn't really support that.
Right, and so she was arraigned on October 26th, just a couple of days later.
Okay.
And they said that further charges would be pending
Mm-hmm.
based on the investigation.
Right.
So she was charged with 4 counts of second-degree murder
Wow.
and 46 counts of assault.
Goodness gracious.
And later the assault charges were amended to 39 counts as part of a plea deal.
Okay.
And her bail was set at $1 million.
Wow.
So her trial was initially scheduled for January 10, 2017.
Okay.
But on that same day, she accepted a plea deal.
Oh, so she didn't even go to trial.
Right. And she pleaded no contest
Mm-hmm.
to 4 counts of second-degree murder
Okay.
and 39 counts of assault and battery by means or force likely to produce death.
So essentially saying, yeah, I did it, but I'm not admitting guilt.
Right. Wow. Okay.
So for each murder count, she received a life sentence.
Okay.
And those are to be served concurrently, so at the same time.
Hmm.
And then for each of the assault counts, she received a 10-year sentence.
Okay.
And those are also served concurrently.
Wow.
So All total, she was sentenced to 55 years.
Okay.
And she's eligible for parole when she's in her early
Oh,
70s.
wow. So she'll be in prison for a long time.
Right. And she's currently incarcerated at the Mabel Bassett Correctional Center near McLeod, Oklahoma.
Okay.
So Oklahoma State University President Burns Hargis,
Cool.
he released a statement,
Okay.
and he talked about the loss for the community, and he called it the Cowboy family, and he talked about how they've had other tragedies in the past that they've had to overcome. Yeah, it seems like Oklahoma State unfortunately has had to face quite a few of these events.
Right. And Stillwater Mayor Gina Noble, she was actually the grand marshal of the parade that day.
Oh my goodness.
And she talked about how, heartbroken and shocked she was.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
But she also talked about how, the community is strong and they'll be able to get through this together.
Right, yeah.
So the homecoming game against Kansas was actually played later that day.
Oh, wow.
But they did cancel the pregame pep rally.
Right, of course, yeah.
And Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallon, she's an alumna of the university.
Okay.
And she was present at the game. And she actually led a moment of prayer with the players and spectators before the game.
Yeah.
And the U.S. flag at Boone Pickens Stadium was flown at half staff.
Oh, wow.
So Governor Fallon, she also released a statement offering her condolences.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about the strength and compassion of Oklahomans.
Right.
And she also drew parallels to the 2001 basketball team plane crash and the 2011 women's basketball staff plane crash.
Yeah. So yeah, they've had some really tragic events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you have it. I mean, that's kind of the rundown of everything that happened.
Right. I mean, it's amazing how quickly
Yeah.
that day went from, celebration to just absolute horror.
Yeah.
And then, seeing the legal system do its work and the community trying to grapple with this tragedy, it's really something.
Yeah. And so what can we take away from all this? What can we learn?
I mean, for me, it really highlights how, even in these seemingly safe situations, these public gatherings,
Right.
there's always an element of vulnerability.
Yep.
And it also just shows how crucial it is to have, really good emergency response systems in place.
Right. Because they were so lucky that, the first responders were already there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, it shows how complex the legal process can be.
Right. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not always cut and dry. And, in this case, there was a plea deal, so there wasn't even a trial.
Right.
So it's just a lot to think about.
Right. And so, how does a community really process something like this?
Right.
I mean, you heard the statements from the university president and the mayor and the governor.
Right.
And they all talked about, coming together and supporting each other,
Mm-hmm.
and finding strength in their community.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, that they went ahead and played the football game that day.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there were people who felt like that wasn't appropriate, but, it's almost like they were trying to reclaim some sense of normalcy,
Right.
After this horrible event.
Yeah. And I think it's a testament to, their resilience,
Right.
and their desire to move forward
Yeah,
while still remembering what happened.
absolutely.
So yeah, this deep dive has really shown us the reality of the 2015 Oklahoma State University homecoming parade attack,
Mhm.
and all the pain and suffering that it caused.
Yeah. I mean, you had the deaths of 4 people,
Right.
injuries to many others.
Yeah.
And then this long legal process
Mm-hmm.
and the community really trying to cope with this incredible loss.
Right. And the facts are there in the Wikipedia entry, but there's so much more to it than that. There's all the emotional and psychological trauma that people experience,
Absolutely.
and the long-term effects that this will have on the community.
Right. I mean, how do you ever really fully recover from something like this?
Right.
It's just so much to process.
Yeah, and so that's something for you to think about. As we end this deep dive.
Yeah.
Think about the lasting impact that this will have on the community and how they will continue to heal and move forward.
Right. I mean, and think about how, we can learn from this and try to prevent something like this from happening again, because unfortunately these events do happen and we need to be prepared.
Right. Yeah.
And we need to support each other.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.